Okay, so it's time to play the game. So the way the game is going to be played, you click on a block and we're going to react to that, right? So we need to go to the script, the block script, and we're going to put in a simple on mouse up. So right now I just want to test. I just want to test to see if it's working, whether when I click it I see the row, column, and filled, right? So this is on the block, and we go back to the game. I'm going to maximize on play and just click a couple of blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So as you see, we did get that to react. Now the key is really on the block prefab. We made sure to have where was it? To have a two-box collider, if you remember, right? Right over here. Can I minimize this? Sprite renderer. Oh yeah, this box collider. That's what's doing the job here. If you don't have a collider, the clicks won't work. Okay, so I think I'm in the right place here. So that's working. We know it's clicking, so we got to be able to react to that. So let's go back to the block, right? Let's go back to the block, and we're going to comment this out, decomment that out. So what we want to do is we want to always go through the game manager and to notify the game manager, because there might be multiple things to do in a game, and the game manager will decide what is necessary. So we need this function process mouse click, and we're going to send the block. We need to send the block that was clicked. So to send the block that you're in, you have to use the word this. This represents the object that the script is on. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go to the game manager. So we need to go to the game manager, and so in the game manager we need to have a function that reacts to that. So let's put it right over here. So this is the function. Now we want to check if the game is playing. If the game is not being played, we don't want to react to it. So in this case, there's only one thing to do, is to call the level and let the level handle this event. So we have a function in level, and this is that singleton thing, right? We go through the class name because it's a static. We get the instance, and then we get the function. So we have to get this function now inside the level. Okay, so in level, we'll put, let's see, we have some regions here, and I think going to put this in a gameplay region. So this is actually the setup region over here, which I didn't label yet, but so this is gameplay, and I could say end region gameplay. Okay, so and this region down here could be the setup region if you like to set that up. So what do we want to do? We're being sent the block that we just clicked, so we're going to fill that block, right? Actually, we're going to call the group, and we're going to fill. The group needs to take care of a few things, like which blocks to fill. Remember, some of them are in the same row, so it could be more than one. So the group is going to handle that. So let me comment down, and then of course we have to update the matches. So let's do the group fill first, right? Because the group will take that block and fill it. So the way it's going to work is the group, hold on, I need to go to this group here. So the way it's going to work is we need to keep track of where we are in, what row we're at in the group. So as we click and we come here and we want to fill, we need to know what row we are and whether we maxed out. Remember, when we max out, you remove all the water, right? So we need a few variables. We need to know the upper row, right, that's our maximum row, in this group, that is, in this group, right? So it could be, you know, a number between 2 and 3, 2 and 5, you know, 3 and 5, whatever, right? So, and then we also need to have the lower, right? And then we need to know who, where we are in the current group, in the current row. So we need to calculate, this is the one we're going to increase, and these are the ones that are determined at the beginning. So we need to have functions to determine those. So at the beginning of the game, we could do it after we fill it, right? We need to set these boundaries. We need to know what the upper row is and what the lower row is of that group. So let's make a function that does that. We could do it right here after fill, color. So, yeah. So this is the function that's going to set those boundaries, right? So we need to initialize our variables, right? So we'll set them to the first block. So we'll take the first block in our array, and we'll set the upper and lower to that upper and lower, right? So that's our initialization. Who knows what that is? But we need to start somewhere. To continue this, this is the common this is actually like in computer science, finding the maximum and minimum in a group. So we're going to iterate through all the blocks. I don't think we need to go through 0 because we already took care of 0, right? So we can start at 1. So 0 was already processed. So we, so what we're looking is for the minimum and the maximum. So in the maximum, we check to see if this, so we're going to iterate through all the blocks. We check each block's row, and is it greater than the upper row? If it is, then we're going to change that to the upper row. So eventually, when this finishes, my upper row is the largest value of the row for in the blocks. And we're going to do the same thing for the lower. So for the lower bounds, we're going to check to see if this block has a row less than the lower row, right? So, and this was the last smallest one, so we changed that. And the last thing to do is to set our current value. Outside the loop, when this is all done, we'll set our current value to the lowest -1. -1 because none of them are filled, right? So if we set it equal to lowest row, then we would indicate that one row is already filled, but it's not. So the current value is -1. Now that we set these variables, we actually can start filling and unfilling things. So if you remember, we call this function fill, right? Actually, you don't need the block. So we're not sending in the block at all. It doesn't really matter. The group will just look at the position that it's at, either fill the next highest row or empty everything, right? So in the group, we need a function fill, and that will either, like I just said, either fill the next row or empty everything out based on the situation. So in this function, first we'll check to see if if the current row is less than the upper row, right? So that means we still have rows to fill. We'll start filling them. So if we need to start filling them, we're going to increase our current row. Our current row needs to be 1 higher, right? We're going to iterate through all the blocks, and we're going to check if they need to be filled. And the condition for them to be filled, if their row is equal to the current row. Now we could do, just to be safe, we could say less than also, but it would be redundant. Hopefully, hopefully the rows below have been filled, but anyway, I think it'll be okay. So if you're equal to now to this current row, you're gonna get filled, right? But what if we have maxed out, right? So this is false. So if this is false, then let me see this. If right here, this would be else, and then I need to close the function. Always click else. K and D. Okay, it looks like okay. So we go to the else if we have maxed out, right? Meaning we need to simply, what's going on here? To simply iterate through all of them and just so we're going to, it doesn't want to do it. Okay, so we're going to set our current row back to the lower or -1, just like at the beginning, and we're going to empty all of them. So we go to every blocks and we say filled is false. So remember what this filled does. This is in the block and it will reset the sprite, right? So this should now be okay in terms of filling and unfilling, unfilling the blocks. So I'm going to save everything and we're going to test it out. Okay, I just tested it out and there's one little thing is if we go to the game manager and we click, we never change this to true, right? This is, remember we set this to false I think at the beginning. So the question is when do we, so the game won't play until we set this to true. So where do we want to set that to true? I think in the level, right? So if we go to the level and we go to start, I think once we initialize everything, we should set that to true. So it will be game manager instance play game equals true. Let's see if I got that right. So game is playing, sorry. So game is playing equals true. Again, this is the singleton, right? We can go to the game manager and we can get any of its variables, although there's only two here, right? The sprites and the gameplay. Okay, so now I want to check if there have any errors here. And console, looks like I don't have anything, so let's give it a try. And click, and you see I'm clicking, and now it's emptying out. Clicking, emptying out. So it looks like click this, empty out, click, empty out. So we got the water, So the next part is the matches.